Football Ball. Football Ball.
Welcome to the Football Ball Podcast. Zach, a.k.a.
Football
Mr.
Ball.
Stateside, joined again with my two friends, family members, as well as Lyndon. The Premier League has been on break. International competitions have been going on. Speaking of which, USA up 2-0 Japan at the 90-minute mark. Fingers crossed they're able to pull that one out. But the reason we're all here, the Premier League, the world's most popular league, most competitive league, and we are jumping back into the action this weekend with many great games, including a Manchester Derby. But the reason I brought these two chaps on today, I say ironically, is because we're actually going to discuss the top three and bottom three players in the Premier League. So, guys, how was making that list, the top three, bottom three players?
I'd say the kit conversation was a little easier to prepare for. No, it was fun. I learned things about players I didn't know. It's frustrating at times trying to figure out who the bottom three were because, yeah, I've watched probably all the way through. I've probably watched a fifth of the games this season, and half of those probably were Manchester United games. So
Maybe
yeah, I
it's
haven't
the bottom
really.
three players on that team. Who knows?
Yeah, I could have done it, but yeah, we'll see. No spoilers. But yeah, I think it was a little tough without seeing all 30 games so far. To really to say who really made an impact and who didn't outside of just looking at some stats. But hey, I learned some cool things and happy to discuss this. And I did wear my blackout Dortmund jersey for y'all since I kind of dogged on it last week and then I pulled it out and was like, I missed you. So thanks for motivating me to do that, guys.
It looks good. It looks good. And yeah, like, I think that you kind of nailed it too. And I'm sure Daniel had the same issue, right? Like, hey, what are the parameters for top three, bottom three? You know, are we taking in really this year, right? It's hard not to take into consideration past performances or past failures, right? It really is, we're focusing on this year. We're taking into consideration a little bit of the financial impact, although it's not a big of a deal. Manchester City in parentheses, as it is in American leagues, right? The financial fair play, PFI, whatever they want to call it. I think there was just a ruling where Manchester City got by with violations, but they had to admit that that the rules are legit. So who knows what's even going on when it comes to the financial aspect of the Premier League. It's a very rich league. Some of these salaries are going to be eye-popping, very comparative to the NBA salaries or the professional football league salaries that we see as well. So just real quickly, we're taking in this year's performance for consideration. There's only been 3 games, but hey, before we go on with the rest of the season, it's a good time to kind of look ahead and see who our top 3 and bottom 3 most impactful, most important players are, or most detrimental possibly players are, or the vibe killers, or the people that are sitting at home collecting a check. Hey, if we could only be so lucky. I know Daniel would definitely sign up for that in a second. All right. Well, cool. Coming up, top 3, bottom 3. We've got consensus. We've got some disagreements. We've got some agreements as well. So stay tuned to the Football Ball Podcast. We'll be right back after this. Are you a Premier League manager who just lost 5-0 at home? Are you tired of repeating the same canned lines to a bunch of reporters who clearly don't care? Well, introducing the post-match presser stress ball. Shaped like a tiny, frustrated Pep Guardiola or a miniature, stoic Mikel Arteta, this stress ball is your new best friend. Squeeze away your anger, clench your jaw, and then, when it's time, just say, "It is what it is," and walk away. The post-match presser stress ball. Because sometimes you need to keep your composure, and the rest is out of your hands. All right, welcome back to the Football Ball Podcast here with Lyndon and Daniel still. We're going to go through our top 3 and bottom 3 Premier League players. Again, most impactful, let me get that out of the way. Most impactful players, right? Least impactful players. Players that get paid a lot don't do much. Players that get paid a lot do great. Or players that actually just add value, whether it be with future transfer fees, whether it be with on-field performance, someone that really holds the team together with his golden calves. Whoever it may be, we will find out. So let's start off with the only consensus player. I know that, Daniel, you didn't have this on your top 3 technically. You really gave us kind of like a top 6. But I think that, he's not a surprise attacker, but if there was a prototype for an attacker, it would be Erling Haaland.
Man, it feels so obvious to have Erling Haaland in the top three. It's just hard to put him in there in a way, but it's also hard to lead him off because he leads the league in goals so effortlessly. Even when it seems to be a down year for Man City, he's just a constant in terms of the amount of touches he needs to score a goal is unreal. His speed, his amount of runs in behind are crazy from a data standpoint. And then he shows he doesn't need to be just in a Man City, feeder system with all the quality players they have there when he plays a game with Norway today and bangs in 5 goals. Like, he can just do it against any team in any league. There is not a better goal scorer on the planet, but he just seems to be such a automatically known top player that, and I don't know, he's almost beyond conversation for me at this point, just because he is the top striker in the world at the moment.
Yeah, and I think Man City would agree. They gave him a 10-year contract for like $400 million, 333 still remaining on this. Cuz is wearing the Dortmund jersey. He was the 2021 Bundesliga Player of the Year. But just for the prolific goal scoring aspect, right? He's had 3 goals this year, which is low for him, honestly. He'd probably have 6 by now. A year ago or 2 years ago, that speaks to the system and kind of how they're reformulating their attacking approach. We talked a little bit before the podcast about bringing Donnarumma in, maybe not playing from the back as much, maybe sending some of the balls down, relying on his physicality. But just real quick, because I know as a Manchester United fan, y'all had an opportunity to get him with Ole, right? Hate to bring that up, but you have to watch this guy play, especially in some of those tight Ole seasons when y'all got second place to him, and he was just relentless. I mean, this guy is gotten back-to-back golden boots. He holds the Premier League record in quickest to score 2, 3, 4, 5 hat tricks, right? Not goals, hat tricks. And he actually, I don't know if I even remember this, in 2023 when he lit the world on fire, won everything that you could. I know that we said we're not going to talk about previous accolades, but I mean, he was the runner-up in Ballon d'Or in 2023, Lyndon.
Yeah. Well, I even have a bigger soft spot for the guy. I lived in Germany a little bit. My roommate was from Dortmund. He got me watching Dortmund in 2010. Watched a lot of good players play there. Erling Haaland piqued my interest more than pretty much any of those players. Was all about him. And I don't get too attached to Dortmund players because I know that they will go to a big club eventually. And out of all the big clubs, I wish he did not go to Man City. But yeah, I wish I could root him on because I love watching this guy. I feel like he's a once-in-a-lifetime striker to watch. I know he's having a little bit of a slower season, but he's still the Golden Boot leader at the moment.
Yep.
I don't like how he plays personally right now with this Man City team because they're just doing too much. They're trying to just give him a tap in every time, and I just love watching him run at players. And he kind of has a little bit of Ronaldinho, Messi type laziness, it looks like right now. He just walks for 90% of the game, but that 10%, he's in the right place at the right time, scoring goals. And I would love to see him get the ball a little further out, like you mentioned, Zach, I think, as far as playing more aggressive long balls to him and things like that. Because watching him run full speed at these defenders is one of my favorite things. But yeah, it was an easy one for me. I played it safe, had to put him in there. I respect Daniel for not, because I thought about doing the same, because it's just one of those players. It's just too easy to put him in, but here we are talking about him.
I feel like we really breezed over the Erling Haaland Manchester United possibilities that would really have put the last couple of years in maybe a different perspective for a lot of fans. But the funniest part of those rumors was, was there at any point where that was honestly a consideration for him? I feel like he was from the get-go, my dad played at Manchester City and they're more successful and they're giving me more money. What's the discussion there of going to Man United?
Yeah, no, that's a good call. I did skip over that. Still sad if those rumors had any truth, I'm unsure. But I know Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was trying and they have that country connection. And it sounds like he could have had him from what he said, from the tidbits that I've seen from him. It just sounded like a missed opportunity. But like you said, the father connection, I can't imagine being able to play at the same club as my dad. That would be hard to pass up on, and especially one like Manchester City at the time that Haaland joined them. They're just Yeah, they're a lot.
So, cuz you couldn't imagine playing soccer for UT? Is that what you're telling us right now?
For UT,
Yeah, over A&M, where your dad is a
oof,
professor or was. Congrats on retirement there.
yeah. I guess it was hard for my dad to watch me because I did play at a UT school where we were orange,
Yeah.
so I don't know if it bothered him at all. He did play sports at A&M a little bit. Shout out Pops.
Shout out Pops. Yeah, he did some work in College Station. Has a couple books about his life too. So hey, that's pretty elite. So Erling Haaland, definitely consensus. I'm glad we could all come to that agreement. And yeah, if Man City has any hope this year, it is going to be on this man's shoulders, broad shoulders. So consensus bottom three player, Anthony Gordon, really pulling up the Wikipedia. Not a lot going on. I think that he made a really young appearance for Everton back in the day when he was very young. He did win the UEFA U21 championship with England. He was the player of the tournament. This is someone that has, or is at least perceived to have, a lot of talent. He's being paid that way by Newcastle, but he had on August 25th, he became the second Premier League player since Mason Holgate to be sent off in each of the past 3 seasons. That's including when he was sent off right on that date against Liverpool, that basically crushed their chances. I mean, Liverpool still almost end up tying that game, but with 10 men down, there was always going to be a defensive breakdown, and that's what ended up happening. I think that I chose him for being a liability on the field based on expectations. He's a relentless pursuer of the football, but he is, I think, maybe a little bit lost in the moment sometimes. We're already, I'm not going to say that he's going to be a surplus player for this team, but we saw, forgive my German, Woltemade has come into the team as well. He probably will still get some plays, but for me, $52 million remaining on his contract. He's being sent off every year. He's not dependable for a Newcastle team that is still trying to break their way really into that top 4 spot, that wants to be in the Premier League every year. They just won their first cup last year, beating Arsenal on the way, beating Liverpool on the way. And guess what? Daniel, he was not even in that final due to yellow card accumulation. So why was he on your bottom 3?
Man, so I feel like I've actually gotten to see him a pretty good amount in terms of over the past years. I remember him like pretty well at his time in Everton and how he was one of those younger guys with a kind of mid to lower in the table type team where you're willing to give a player with that level of upside a chance just to see if it can create goals in front of a team that is very hardworking, competitive, physical, try hard, but tend to lack that attacking spark. And so getting to see him have those moments at Everton, then built on that to I think a well-deserved move to Newcastle and started to have success in a bigger spotlight, bigger club amongst other big players, and really did have, I think, some big moments that led Newcastle to be a successful team over the past few years. And I feel like he is a guy that has a lot of quality. He then has the amazing opportunity with the Alexander Isak situation of, okay, here's a forward that everyone is talking about, like doesn't want to be at Newcastle, is very publicly refusing to play there. It's a very public difficulty in terms of Newcastle signing new players. They seem to lose out on attacking guys that they're going for to other clubs on a regular basis now. And what a cool opportunity for Anthony Gordon to step up and say, okay, here's my chance. I get this opportunity now to lead the team, a Champions League quality team. I want to be able to show you I can do it at the highest levels in England. And with that opportunity, butchers Van Dijk in a way that you're like, what are you doing with this, bro? Like, come on. And so it's a tough one to see. And I really do hope that he can learn and grow from it. And man, like when he is on, he is really fun to watch. But he was in my bottom 3 just because of that separation from what his talent potential and his actual performance is allowing is just it's a crazy drop. So hopefully he gets
Yeah.
it together, but it kind of feels in that category of, okay, like, I gave you this chance, and just keep burning us. So at what point does Newcastle look to move on and find another option versus give him another opportunity to see if he can grow?
Yeah, he scored 2 of the 4 goals in the EFL Cup in the semifinal against Arsenal. So, I mean, he definitely has the talent, Lyndon, but, why did you put him in the bottom 3? Was it some of similar reasons as Daniel?
Yeah, I'd say I really don't have much to add from what y'all said. I just think personally I have a pet peeve as a fan, and if I was a coach, it would make me even madder. Just bonehead or just unnecessary fouls in your attacking half. Like if a defender's facing their own goal with the ball and you push them, like that that's my biggest pet peeve probably. And that getting a red card on that slide tackle was so unnecessary for a guy that needs to be stepping up for them right now. That's just the kind of foul that just grinds my gears. And everything else I fully agree with what y'all said as well.
Man,
Yeah, I mean,
great call though. I will say,
Mhm.
Zach, with your description of relentless pursuer. I mean,
Mhm.
I don't know if there's a more dedicated presser, so he doesn't just have this like upside in attack, but upside in defense too, but just so out of control. I mean, like
Yeah.
he is 99 miles per hour the whole time. So yeah, that's something that they're definitely going to struggle to rein in, but will be interesting to watch if they can.
Yeah, I mean, he reminds me a lot of me, and that's not a compliment, right? Hey, this guy could run track. He's fast, and he's going to be late, and he's going to get subbed off immediately, getting a yellow card because we know the second one's coming. So, Patrick Vieira also not the same play style, but definitely prone to have a couple red cards in his day. We just hope that he can temper his emotions. I definitely, the Liverpool game is just so bad. Obviously, the tackle on Van Dijk as well, right? This is a guy that's not going to get fooled by a slide tackle from a winger. But it's understandable because it was kind of, I mean, that was the game, right? The opening of the Premier League at Newcastle. Newcastle fans won their first trophy in almost 100 years. I think it was more like 80, but still. So I think the baby is calling. But yeah, that is something that we'll have to keep an eye on. And yeah, I'm with you, Daniel. I'm rooting for him to make a bounce back, especially going into a World Cup year. So, all right. My top 3, we've already talked about Haaland. Next up, Van Dijk, right? Brought him up. This is not a player that is going to get shaken by a high presser. This is not a player that's going to shrink from the big moment, whether it be looking down Christian Pulisic in the World Cup. I'm just kidding. But this is a guy that Champions League winner. He came into Liverpool on a big fee, about 70 million pounds, and he's got Player of the Year honors. He's the only defender to win the UEFA Player of the Year ever in its history in that 2019 season. 2-time PL winner. Obviously, last year he won it. FA Cup winner, 2-time EFL Cup winner. I would say he is the face of Liverpool with Salah as well, of course. For me, I see this guy and I think of LeBron, right? He's only 34. He's not 40. But I see a guy that's still doing it, still using not only his physical traits as a progressive passer, right? Progressive passes 10 yards down the field towards the goal, something we don't often see in United States men's soccer. He's a shot blocker. He's an aerial duel winner. He's a clearance king. He's an engine, right, on offense and defense. But now he's just getting smarter too. Like he has the experience. He's played in the dregs of Scottish football and in the tippy top of English, I should say European competitions. So I put him up here. He is highly paid. He is getting older. But this year, I mean, he's top 5 in, like I said, progressive passing, shot blocking, aerial duel winning, clearances, and touches as well. This guy is always touching the football for Liverpool. He is kind of that fulcrum and allows the other players, attacking, defensive, to feel comfortable and confident, not only as a defender and as a captain. 20 Premier League titles for Manchester United, 20 for Liverpool. Van Dijk, cuz, what are we thinking? I know he wasn't in your top 3, but how do you see him? Do you see him as over the hill, a counterattacking risk, or are you kind of in line with me?
I'm fully aligned with you. That guy is something else, always has been. Obviously, can't stand Liverpool, but much respect for that guy and Salah as well. Love but hate watching both of them play. Yeah, I think he's one of the GOATs in that position, and I don't see him slowing down enough to worry at this point.
Yeah, I think they could pair him with someone else, Daniel, right? Like maybe Kanate go to Real Madrid and join Rudiger with the metal band. It'll just head smash everybody in La Liga. Maybe they put him next to someone a little bit quicker. Yeah, hey, why not another Dutch player? Yeah, any thoughts on Van Dijk, or should we move on to my hero?
I would say the only reason I didn't have Van Dijk in there myself was because I feel like he is in an actual slight decline, but he's a hard one to evaluate because, I mean, he, for me, was clear center back number one in the world the last however many years. And not only is he amazing in all those categories, you listed, he also somehow does it in a way where his physical data is some of the most efficient of any player. Like, he's rarely having to sprint. He's rarely having to cover a ton of ground. Like, he just has a remarkable ability to read the game and anticipate at a very high level. His composure is unreal. And I do think he probably has the best ability of anyone in the Premier League right now to just do that kind of stare, when the guys around you are messing up, and you just kind of give them that look, and they're like, hey, like, okay, I'll be better because, yeah, you can give me that look. You never mess up. You never have mistakes. So when he gets that look, it definitely seems like the other Liverpool players listen and kind of raise their level after those moments.
Yeah, and I think it's cool to see Arne Slot have, a Dutch compatriot that's a captain, right? They're having just one-on-one meetings and saying, hey, this is what we're doing, right? Kind of like this next guy, David Raya, not a captain, right? Spanish compatriot with Mikel Arteta. This is someone that is a back-to-back Golden Glove winner. UEFA 2024 champion. I think he was the backup keeper. He's probably the second best goalie after Alisson on the second best team after Liverpool. But if we're talking about not only the last 2 years, but this year, he's third in saves. He's first in clean sheets. He has a 91% save percentage. He's really the backbone of Arsenal's mentality to distribute from the back and limit opponent score lines and chances. I mean, because I hope everything's okay. I know you're bouncing out new dad stuff, but if ties were worth 2 points, I think this man would be worth his weight in golds. And he's not only just a shot stopper and a stalwart in the back, but he also has some of the same progressive passing distance numbers, right? I think this is kind of getting a little bit off the beaten path with stats, but of all the passes that he's given, there were 10 yards closer to goal than when the ball started, right? So 10 yards down the field towards the opponent's goal. He's done 2,000 yards already this year. So those long passes, those kind of direct passes that maybe Pep's going to want to bring in with his new goalkeeper, that's something that Raya has, really excelled on. And he's coming from Brentford, $21 million remaining on the contract. It was a loan to buy situation. I think bang for the buck, he is extremely valuable keeper.
Most definitely. I would love to have his targets for long passes if I was him.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
He's so cool to watch. I think he has this like rare mixture of, similar to Van Dijk, composure, but also ferocity in the way that he plays and approaches the game. The only reason I didn't put him in there is I think it's sometimes tough just to tell how good he is due to the limited sample size in terms of, I think, the team in front of him, both in the way they play, both the players in the back line, the work rate recovering of the attacking guys. He just seems to not have to do as much maybe as some other goalkeepers. And so I feel like he's a guy that definitely does not have a lot of mistakes, has some really cool moments, but now it's just about seeing more sample size compared to someone like Alisson. Just feels like he's used more on a weekly basis by Liverpool and having to save them more frequently than what David Raya has to face.
All like, yeah, Allison, the one-on-ones, the duels, it's every week. Every week he's coming out at the right time, stopping, sliding, doing all that. So hey, good shout there. Good shout there. All right. Lyndon, let's move to your top three. Haaland, we've already discussed him, the Nordic Nightmare, but the Golden Calf himself, Jack Grealish. Tell me about him.
Jack Grealish. I respect that you put the Golden Calves title there. Definitely him and Roberto Carlos are in a league of their own there. Yeah, but it was another safe top three pick for me, just like Haaland. I mean, just going off of one of the main stats of assists, he's the current assist leader. He really just looks creative on the ball. His assists were all solid, like the perfect amount of speed on the passes through the defense and tight spaces. He had one header back across the goal for an assist, which I respect as someone who is a very short player myself. Being able to win a header inside the six to head it across the goal. Much respect. Love to see that. Just his confidence overall, he's playing a huge role in making Everton a top 5 team in the first 3 weeks, which is crazy. I saw some stats where it's a career high for him in attempted dribbles per 90 minutes and most successful take-ons already. So that just shows that confidence. Really, he's got the ability to beat opponents, and it's fun to watch. And I'll say just lastly, the better he plays, he's already got a name for himself. He'll just keep drawing defenders to himself. So if Everton can, I mean, in some places keep it up, but in other places really individually pick it up, he'll get a lot of attention his way and open up the door for some of those other players at Everton that maybe are trying to make a big name for themselves and move on to even bigger clubs if that's what they're looking to do. But yeah, I think he's just overall impacting that team greatly, and watching some of his highlights, I was really impressed. It's a fun player to watch right now.
Man.
Yeah, I think that he aligns really well with, I don't want to say he's the most creative player since Ashley Young, old ass, but like it's interesting to have a very defensive team and just kind of have him be the maestro, the creator, and being able to maybe, Daniel, bring a little bit of that Man City magic to Everton.
It's been so cool to see that transformation. And yeah, I feel like it's a huge positive exhale for the neutral fans and the English football community of this guy who was something different to watch, like in a league that has sometimes become so advanced and so analytical that it has come at the expense sometimes of attacking risk and creativity and flair, and become at times a very like risk averse attacking type system of Guardiola type teams wanting to have so much control that, it was kind of a bummer to see that go away. And then now for it to just reemerge and come back in a different color kit has been, I think, really fun for everyone to watch. The stat that he has more assists so far this year than in 2 years at Man City is, remarkable, especially when you think of how you guys mentioned they are a defensive team. And he was playing with what is the world's best goal scorer at Man City. Like, it's just one of those head scratchers in terms of how it didn't work out there. But I think now that he's been given a new role, him along with Dewsbury Hall have been just like killing it at Everton and taking this team that was fallen to the bottom of the table the last few years, now in the top half already, starting with a lot of goals scored, and they're doing it in a cool way. And it's, fun to see and entertaining and really energetic. So the only reason I did not have him in my person.
You may have lost Daniel, but he's not there to defend. But yeah, I get what he's saying, right? Yeah,
Defense.
I totally
What's
get that. Let the boy play. All right, well, we wait for Daniel. Lyndon, let's jump over to the prodigal son. Hey, Grealish, I'm not going to say he was unwanted at Man City, but Trevoh was kind of dismissed by Chelsea. He wasn't part of the bigger plan. Then he came back and kind of lit a fire, became a talisman for Chelsea as well. So is it Chalobah, right?
That's how I'd pronounce it. Yep, Chalobah.
All right. Why is it there for you?
I mean, maybe it was a genius strategy by the organization or the coach to make him want to play even harder and come back with a vengeance. But yeah, he's playing really well. Um, Obviously Chelsea's given up, I think, 1 goal, 2 clean sheets. He's a major part of that. But he also has 2 goal involvements, including a goal himself. I believe it was against West Ham.
Right. They were.
But yeah,
Did you watch that game?
it was a
They were
5-1, I
just.
think.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
all the
that
goals
was
were
the one.
scored like 5 feet away from the goal too, just on corners or ends. I mean, Jesus, but yeah,
Just so much. Yeah, they were strong. Yeah, gotta love defenders getting on the score sheet. As a Man United fan, I know all about that with our offensive threat, Harry Maguire, coming in clutch, scoring goals left and
big
right
head.
for us. Yep, big head. But yeah, I don't play fantasy for English Premier League, but I saw that he's a top point getter so far, which is wild as a defensive player. So I think it's fair to say he's in the company of people like Josh Allen. I guess you could say he's the Josh Allen of EPL fantasy right now, which is
Oh
great
wow,
company. Yeah, I'm saying it right here. But yeah,
I like it.
I don't know much about fantasy points and all that, but some of the stats that I was seeing was really strong, and I'm sure that adds to the points that they use in fantasy. He doesn't turn the ball over, which is really important, especially in the first 3 games of a season. We've seen some pretty big blunders in the back from goalies or center backs this season from other teams. He's staying solid. He's the one who kicked the ball into the Fulham player's arm, which, hey, I don't think that's intentional in any way, but it's great to see a defensive player up there making plays, and being able to do that and give up 1 goal in 3 games is it
Amazing.
shows that he is a smart player. He knows when to be back, when to get up. They're organized in the back, Chelsea, so it's impressive. And I think he's the main reason they're so impressive. Welcome back, Daniel.
Welcome back. All right. Cool. That was Lyndon's top 3. We're going to take a brief break, and we'll be right back with the Football Ball podcast. Stay tuned. Did you spend all summer telling your mates your favorite club was going to be a complete train wreck? Were you scoffed at, ridiculed, and called a hater? Well, now you can have the last laugh with the brand new I Told You So t-shirt. It features a graphic of a sad-looking club badge next to a glorious, confident smile. It's perfect for rubbing it in, and trust me, it feels great. The I Told You So t-shirt, because you can't argue with results. And welcome back to the Football Ball Podcast. It's me, Mr. Stateside, a.k.a. Zach, joined with Lyndon and Daniel. Daniel is back now. Tyler, Texas, not undergoing any kind of tornadoes, hurricanes, riots of any kind. We're all good?
Riot free.
Cool. All right, Daniel, what is your top 3-ish?
So it's a bit of a group. I'll go ahead and start with the number 1 for me in Dominic Szoboszlai. And I think what just is he not done from a positive standpoint so far this season. And for me, he's the number 1 for a few reasons. Only team at the top of the table right now in terms of undefeated clubs. He's played in all 3 of those matches, contributed in multiple ways, both in attack and defense. I think he had this narrative around him of, with some of the really high-profile Liverpool signings coming in, it was always an interesting conversation because they added such top-end talent that everyone was excited to see what the new squad would look like, predicting lineups, and it seemed like he was the one who just kind of automatically lost the place in most people's mind and kind of was removed from a midfield that had just won a Premier League, and had success, that he was a major component of that in terms of his performance the year before. 13 goals and assists as a guy who was able to play in multiple roles, be an elite defender and attacker at the same time. But maybe a little bit brushed aside during the summer conversations, and then doesn't play in his normal midfield position and gets slotted in at right back.
Right back, yeah.
In a move that honestly feels pretty rare in terms of, if you look at Liverpool past, I don't think they've had a ton of shakeups from their 4-3-3, who's playing in them, maybe a little bit of uncertainty at times of how Trent Alexander-Arnold would fit into that, but I
Is it
think
the
to see
Martinelli
him move...
effect, Daniel? Did they
What's
just
that?
see Martinelli and say, this guy can't even dribble left, we'll be fine?
I don't know, but I think just the ability to take it in stride like he did was something you don't always see in a modern high-level athlete. I think selfishness, in an understandable way, honestly, for elite players has become more common in the game. And to see someone as a Premier League champion, captain of their national team, to just, say no problem, I'll play at a different role and not only keep our main title contenders to a shutout, but, oh, by the way, I'm going to score the game-winning goal from an unreal free kick, was just, a better start to the season I don't think can be imagined. So on the back of rumors that he would now be irrelevant in the Liverpool squad, I think he found a way to at least somewhat write his name in the record books for however the season goes from here.
Nice utility player, yeah, got the pedigree, right back, midfield, and had a scientifically perfect free kick. Lyndon, anything you want to add to that, or we can just move on from Liverpool altogether?
Good with that. Yeah.
All right. Next up, Daniel wanted to choose a whole team, and hey, if it was any other team, I would have said no. But luckily for him, he chose the Arsenal defense. Called them the Cyborgs. I was able to get 3 out of 4. It looks like Jim and I kind of got confused by Saliba's portrait, and so now we just have a generic B-roll actor in there instead of Saliba. So Polyvoo friends, no, sorry, I was going to say I'm sorry, but anyways, Daniel, the Arsenal defense, the Cyborgs. Ben White's a little sad not to be in the party, but he's in Ibiza doing his thing. What is your thought on the Premier League, one of the Premier League's best defense next to Liverpool?
To be honest, I don't think anyone could convince me this is not the best defense, not only in the Premier League, but in the world. The reason I put them all together as one is I think they are this year's version of what just feels like a machine, like a cheat code in terms of, there are those moments in time where like just prime De Bruyne feels like a machine. They can do everything when Salah's up to full speed. And it feels like this year's version of that is maybe the Arsenal back line. And the reason I feel that way, not only are they all 6 foot tall, move incredibly well, very physically strong, but they're willing to challenge, be physical in the air, a level of bravery that a lot of top center backs don't have to that extent anymore. And on top of it, they can all possess at a really high level, great decisions on the ball, great counter prevention that's at an elite level, limiting teams' other chances. There is nothing that the back four can't do at a high level for Arsenal. And it really does feel like one of those moments where you watch the highest level and it doesn't feel relatable to the sport in other arenas. I think the Arsenal back line has just grown to that extent. So it's hard to imagine what the next evolution of a defender beyond that would be. But I think those guys are at their peak, and they are also leading the team in goals and assists in terms of the 3 matches played so far. They have conceded 1 goal, but then had more goals assists than the entire midfield and forwards combined. So their influence in the team is just undeniable, and I think they're doing it at the highest level. Yeah,
because I guess the only knock would be on them is that, hey, sometimes they have to go in for scheduled maintenance, right? We've got Saliba out for 4 weeks. Big Gabby, as Arsenal fans call him. The hamstring let him down last year at the most crucial time going into the PSG and the end of the Premier League season. Timber has had his knocks, and Calafiori is a model, so he has other requirements as well. Anything that stands out to you? Like, what if you had to pick one of these 4 players to be on Manchester United? Which one would you choose?
Ooh, that's a
Great question.
yeah, it's a good question. I don't know the best way to approach that in a response. I think I'll go Chalobah because individually he's killing it from Chelsea, and I'll leave Arsenal together as a unit. That
Okay.
unit, you shouldn't break it up. If I was
love
gonna get
that.
an individual player, I'm going back to my top 3
Okay,
and gonna
nice.
take
I
Chalobah.
like that. Hey, stick to your guns. Cool. All right. Cuz didn't see James Milner, popcorn eating James Milner, the OG on this list. What before Daniel goes into his spiel, what are we thinking is the reasoning behind this?
Yeah, no idea. No idea. I saw that today, or really not too long before we got on this call, and I'm just interested to hear Daniel's take. I don't know.
All right, hit us with it, Daniel.
Man, I'm excited for this one. So initially, as I said, I was going to put Erling Haaland in this spot, but really was just trying to go through like what is a top Premier League player with such a small sample size, because it feels like in a way you're obligated to put Salah in there just from what he's done over the last few years. But with this being a new league in particular, just who has gotten headlines and who's really been in the news. And I think in some ways there's not a better example than James Milner. He started to come up a lot through some unfortunate circumstances with his tributes to Diego Jota in terms of, I think, being able to discuss his love for the former teammate Diego Jota and having that, celebration and tribute to him, really put James Milner back in the spotlight, where I'm sure a lot of fans had the, man, is he seriously still playing type moment? Because I think everyone who grew up playing FIFA can remember him as long as the game existed. He's been going. And I did look it up because I wasn't sure. He's currently at 640 Premier League matches played with 24 consecutive seasons in the top flight.
Yeesh.
And it's just numbers that are unreal. He's now 39 years old. So not only was he doing it at an age that's unimaginably young, but he's doing it now older than we are. And if you think about how our bodies feel, if you go and play an adult league game and he's doing Premier League miles, it's insane. And so I do think I can comfortably make the argument no one in the Premier League has a better mindset in terms of just being a perpetual competitor and doing every little thing right, maximizing what talent you have, because he's a guy that I don't know at any point in his, at least later on career, that you have those, moments of, oh, well, he's a better dribbler than this guy, or he's, better shooting than this guy, or he's faster than this player, or a better tackler. Like, there's no trait that he could really own, but he just keeps finding a way to get it done. And I will say that level of heart and determination, I think, just has to be in the top 3 in some form or fashion. So
Sure.
maybe he's not having the contributions of Liverpool and Arsenal players at the top of the table, but doing it for 24 years is a stat I looked up longer than what Airbnb has been in business. He has been playing in the English top flight longer than Uber has been around. These now common practices in our daily lives didn't even exist when this guy started playing football at the highest level, and still being able to have the mental drive, physical preparation year after year, week after week, not only to be on teams, but actually getting on the field, contributing in meaningful ways, is really cool. The most meaningful stat I have on him trying to sway you guys to put him in your own top 3. Of all players in his position, he is in the 94th percentile in terms of chances created. For other similar midfielders in that role, he is at the top of the top with, again, no superstar elite talent, just sheer determination, self-belief, perpetual effort. He has put himself in a way that teams are still relying on him in 2025.
Well,
I feel
I
like you
think that's
just
well said.
argued. Sorry. I was gonna say I feel like you just argued for like a Netflix special, to be created. So well done. You sold me. Sorry, cuz.
Yeah, and like to piggyback on what Cuz said, hey, if he was in an American sports, this seems like he'd be an advocate for State Farm, right? He'd be Chris Paul, basically. He'd be out there dribbling with all of his kids and going to all these different teams, and he's probably had a little bit more success as far as championships. I wish there were regular season championships in American sports because I know Chris Paul would have a couple of those. But no, I think it's well said. I think you are taking into consideration a little bit more of the past performances. But if we are taking, what's important for this year, he did beat Man City coming on as a substitute. So I salute you, sir. Thank you for your service. All right. We're going to take one more brief break on the Football Ball podcast, come and wrap up the bottom 3 for each of us. We have been going a little bit long. I'm loving it, though. Really good stuff. So we'll be back in just a moment. All right, welcome to the Football Ball podcast. It's our final segment, the bottom 3. We've already gone through the top 3, had some great insights, some great conversation. Again, just a quick reminder, this is the bottom 3 for this year, right? We're not taking in necessarily the whole portfolio of a player. We've started off with just 3 games in the season. It may come off as kind of harsh to even have a bottom 3. We could have just sorted by own goals and just named those players. But hey, here at the Football Ball podcast, we want to bring y'all some analysis with some American flair. We've already done some NBA comparisons as well. So Lyndon, let's jump to your bottom 3, starting off with not quite the $100 million man, but pretty dang close for Manchester United, Benjamin Sesko.
Yeah, I put him on here as a United fan, as I really hope that he checks this episode out and, gets all the way to this part so that he can use this as motivation to prove me specifically wrong. But yeah, him being in my bottom 3 is probably pretty harsh, but he hasn't done anything, so I'm content with having him here. Unsure really why he's only played 80 minutes in the 3 games, somewhere around there, when we really don't have a main striker besides him. Starting Mason Mount there is not really ideal, but that's what we've done. And you would think, he'd be hungry. He'd come in and already have proven himself with the amount that we've paid, like you mentioned. But he still hasn't recorded a start now. Is that on him in his training? Lack of assimilation into the team? I don't know. But yeah, you just think that he would have at least started by now, gotten some more minutes. Once again, not sure what's going on there, if we can really fault him. But 0 goal contributions in 3 games, 3 appearances, no assists either. Really hasn't shown much of an attacking threat. I think he has maybe 3 shots. I don't know if maybe 1 on goal. It's just kind of rough to watch him not have any real bright spots. And Bomo and Cunha have had some bright spots. Run-up players shown some confidence even on this new team, and but he really hasn't just shown anything yet. So there's that. But yeah, I'd say just not EPL related, but him stepping up 10th to take PK. That was strange as a striker. And yeah, he's just not doing it for me, and I'm looking forward to him. I know he won't be on my top 3 in a few more weeks, hopefully, but that's where he's at right now.
Hey, Derby's coming up, Man City, so maybe he can make Pep scratch his face, and all will be forgiven if you score a goal in a Derby game. Let's jump over to Jean-Claire. What you got for him?
Yeah, so Jean-Claire kind of just got the I don't know. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. The West Ham defense is just horrible. Uh, really pretty much did it. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. After doing a little more research, he's got okay stats, I guess, but the guy, he really just hasn't blossomed yet. He's, like you said, he was on Barcelona for a little bit, only played a handful of games. Bounced around in France, and now he's at West Ham for a 33 million pound signing. Not really sure why they did that. I don't think he's lived up to that in 2 appearances from what I've looked at, and it's just they've given up 8 goals. So I had to blame someone, unlike Daniel, who put a whole back line in the top 3. I would have probably put the whole back line. I just
all the West Ham up
so,
there.
I hope he watches this as well and comes back and shoves it in my face as well.
Step up, Jean-Claire.
Yeah, come on.
French correspondent Daniel, do you have anything you want to add to this pot-bellied defender? I'm just kidding. Yeah, I'm sure he's better physical shape than me, but what you got?
I did try and work a West Ham player into my bottom 3 just as much as they were underachieving. I think Lyndon hit the nail on the head there. And then you sold me in terms of the picture you chose. The guy's a Premier League level athlete. So I'm sure it's just the jacket, having a bad angle, but
we've all been there.
It's reminding me of a Seth Rogen body type, for a physical competitor. So it's not a great look for
that was 2
Mr.
minutes
Jean.
before the game too.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So good call, cuz West Ham defense, brutal. I believe Graham Potter's the manager there. I love West Ham. I mean, I think they have a great fan base, a lot of fans blowing bubbles. It's strange, but I hate to see them fail this hard. And it makes me think, like, this year we may see some promoted teams not actually go down. Like there are, like, I don't want to put Aston Villa in there yet, but you can see my bottom 3. I definitely have Ollie Watkins in there. I think I know that he has absolutely 0 goals. He's has 8 shots. 2 of them have been on target. Poor passing numbers. No touches. Right. So we're seeing West Ham. We're seeing Aston Villa. We're seeing some of these teams not pick up any points in the beginning. In Aston Villa's in Aston Villa's corner, there's 0 goals for 3 games. And you know what you do when you get desperate, like West Ham? You go get a poor French defender, or if you're Aston Villa, you go get a very, very highly paid Manchester United winger in Sancho. They are desperate. And I think that Ollie Watkins had a lot of hype last year. I know that Arsenal was looking at getting him. I know that he is considered a complete forward, right? But for me, just moving on to my bottom 3 with that quick transition, Ollie Watkins is in there, and I put Aston Villa and West Ham in kind of that same category. This guy is getting wages similar to Cole Palmer and Marino. Talk about defensive help. This guy is sitting at the top of the box, even when there's goal scoring opportunities for his opponents. Crystal Palace dismantled this team a couple weeks ago, and he had a fantastic opportunity that he basically hit into Dean Henderson's face. I'm out on Ollie Watkins. I'm glad that Arsenal didn't get him. I still have hope for the young man. He got a penalty today against Serbia that Rashford converted. They probably wish they had Rashford back instead of Ollie Watkins. But anything that y'all wanted to add on that?
You sold me with your commentary there. I think, man, what just a surprise it has to be for the Villa fans of late, from the highs they were experiencing in recent years to it just seems to have inexplicably fallen off the map. So it'll be interesting to see how their season progresses.
Yep. Moving on to someone that, honestly, I think he gets a lot of hate now. I'm not saying it's not deserved. If we're going to take the last season into consideration, he had 27 appearances. He only scored against Bolton. Shout out Stu Holden, but Bolton is bad. So that's last year. This year, he's not even playing, right? He's logged up for Chelsea. Of course, I've talked about Raheem Sterling, someone that was a Golden Boy winner, something that like Haaland has won, right? He was one of the best under 21 players in Europe. He's a 4-time Premier League winner. He got Team of the Year accolades in the 18-19 season. And guys, get this. I did not know this. He is the all-time English assist leader in the Champions League with 23. So this was a tippity-top player. He's still getting paid like it, but Chelsea wants nothing to do with him. He wants nothing to do with moving outside of London, even in London to Crystal Palace, West Ham, Fulham, Bayer Leverkusen, Juventus. All of these teams came knocking. He's not interested in going. So he has $45 million remaining on his contract. He's unplayable in the Premier League at a high level. And for me, he is the number one bottom three player. That's confusing to say. But I had to put him in the Arsenal jersey because we haven't even seen him in a Chelsea jersey, right? Because Raheem Sterling, the highs were way up there, but now it's kind of in that, I don't want to say Carmelo Anthony, but we have seen some NBA players kind of just check out, get that big paycheck, and, be absolutely poor on the court.
Yeah, I hope he makes a little comeback. We'll see what happens. Like you said, the highs were really great and really fun to watch as a soccer fan, So we'll see.
Yeah. Anything you want to add to that, or we can go on to your bottom three, Daniel?
I think you nailed it with your description of him. I think the Carmelo Anthony shout is a great comparison. He definitely gives off that body language in a way that I didn't want to be the first one to say it and feel like I was, hating on him, but he doesn't look like the most motivated guy out there. Crazy to think about how successful he was with the national team as well. And thinking of him and Kane playing up top when England had the really good run. He was a huge part of that. The only reason I didn't have him in my own was it's a weird argument of, well, is it the player's responsibility to leave and accept then lower wages, maybe different living conditions? I think this is one of the hard parts of contracts. I think a lot of times the organizations aren't held to their end of a bargain if they offer and sign someone to something, and maybe he doesn't want to take less than the wages he's on currently there. And so it's kind of crazy to see some of the stuff about the treatment of the quote-unquote Chelsea rejects that you've seen maybe come out on social media with the locker room that they've been assigned to that looks like a middle school locker room for Premier League players. But at some point, like, this had to happen with Chelsea too, the way they've gone about their transfer business in the last few years. So I think this is on them as much as it is anyone else.
Yeah, I think that's a good shout. And yeah, he said he wants to be close to family. He doesn't want to leave. Why would he take less wages, right? Chelsea bought him. It wasn't like he was even a free transfer. I think it was like £60 million to bring him in. And sure, Enzo Maresca comes in and he wants to flip the script and redo, basically create a conglomerate out of Chelsea with other teams as well. It's a completely brand new situation, something that I'm not really equipped to talk about as far as what Chelsea's doing financially, how it all makes sense. But yeah, thanks for bringing a little bit of empathy into the conversation. I agree, right? We can totally understand that players aren't held to the same standards as some of these teams sometimes, and that's not fair. All right, Daniel's bottom three. Speaking of unfair, it's definitely not how Onana's treated. I mean, I don't know how this guy didn't end up in my bottom three, but take it away, the goalkeeper coach. What you got for us, Andre Onana for Manchester United?
I hate to do it because, he still is an elite level athlete that has crazy ability, as much as it has not come together in games recently. But he just feels to me the automatic one to put in there. And I love the, Man City conspiracy theories about Guardiola hyping him up so that Man United, would buy him. But even before that time in Serie A, I remember him playing at Ajax and being just such a successful goalkeeper with that team, and getting to see him in a lot of games that he had really top performances in a lot of areas playing with that club. So it just does feel like an inexplicable fall from grace of a goalkeeper who everyone was considering, could this be a top 3 goalkeeper in the world, that now just looks like they did some sort of body swap and are flapping at crosses, having balls bounce off them in weird ways, and just reacting in a way that it's tough to imagine being in his shoes when you see what he goes through every time he steps on the field, getting humiliated by that many penalty kicks might be the only description of the Grimsby Town encounter. And I think
at least he didn't point to a direction, Daniel, during Grimsby Town. That would have been a bridge too far, I think.
the only one final stat that I think solidifies it for me, I think a lot of other people have even considered his goalkeeper replacement as a bottom 3 player so far in the Premier League, and he beat out Onana. So it's just tough to see the future back for him, but hope he can get it together and maybe find some good form on his loan spell.
Because you've seen him win trophies. I mean, you've seen him step up before. Is this a case of just not being able to overcome some mental hurdles as far as one mistake leads to 2, leads to 3 or 4? Or you watch them every week. What's your take on this?
For some reason, United just has players that just crumble. Unlike a lot of other teams, I feel like Anthony. I mean, McTominay is not really a guy that crumbled, but he's thriving once he left. Onana is probably going to be one of them. He came in looking great. Just didn't, I don't know. I think the pressure of United, I'm not going to try to be that United guy, but the pressure of United is something I don't think anyone will ever experience that's not on United. And he just probably got down and just couldn't get that sports psychology work, in and get into good spirits and get his confidence back. So hopefully this loan will help. We did get a new goalie, and I don't know when he'll get the start over Bindier, but hopefully he's a young talent that'll grow into a lifelong United goalie, but we'll see. We're struggling in that position.
Yeah, it's an important one. I mean, looking at Manchester United's XG, I mean, the work that Bruno's doing in the midfield and Buemo, it's the only problem, right? And it gets blamed on the defenders too, because they're putting Onana in situations that he probably should still save it, but he doesn't. So then that tanks the defense. So, I mean, I was surprised looking at Manchester United's offensive numbers, because they really are up there, way, way up there. I mean, above Arsenal. I mean, Liverpool's not even close to them, right? So, I'm hopeful that your new guy is better. But hopefully, we will see a return to grace for Onana. If not in the Premier League, then in the World Cup or wherever. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Calvert-Lewin, high highs. He was the guy next to Harry Kane on the English national team. He now finds himself on Leeds. What are we thinking here, Daniel?
It's tough to put any of these guys in there as a bottom 3, but for me, he was just one who stood out just again with that drop from what he had been. It felt like he went on this little bit of a journeyman career until it finally clicked in all the right ways at Everton, and had a really hot streak where he was scoring a lot of goals in different ways for them, to the point where he even earned up that national team call-up to play alongside Harry Kane, as you referenced. So it was a guy who really had made a name for himself, and then during an injury spell, just seems to have gone in a different direction with his career. Really got involved in fashion and spending a lot of his time and energy and, learning a lot about fashion and making some appearances there. So maybe that took away a little bit from the rehab focus, but he does rock some pretty cool looks. I'll give him some credit. And since coming back, it's just been really hard to even get close to the levels that he had been at. I saw a stat that he is currently in the 1% of chances created in that position. So in all of his actions over the last year, he is in the lowest of low in his ability to generate a chance, doing anything on his own at this point. He has become entirely reliant on what his remaining strength is in his 93 percentile ability in aerial duels. He is an elite header of the ball, but it has gotten to the point where if he's not redirecting that service into the back of the net, there is no positive contribution coming from his game for a guy that had really helped move Everton up the table at his high.
Yeah, a little bit of Calvin Phillips kind of vibes, you know? Yep. I mean, I think that it's maybe unfair to Calvert-Lewin, but it's just, it is kind of sad to see some of these injuries derail, and then the focus gets taken off of the game, and hey, they have their lives, they can live that. But yeah, okay, interesting call. We'll see. He could be another one like Sesko, hopefully not like Sesko, but another one that we can see maybe bagging some goals and getting off of this list. And then, of course, we have Anthony Gordon again. So before we wrap it up, right, Daniel did want to throw in a dishonorable mention for bottom three. This guy is an absolute unit. Adama Traore is how we pronounce it. I know the last name, he kind of reminds me of Debo from Friday, right? I think that he's a smart guy. I'm not calling him Debo in that way. I think that he could literally steal anyone's bike on a soccer field, though, with no problems. So, Daniel, what were you thinking here? Was it just kind of a meme, or do you actually believe he is a bottom
definitely
four?
Become a meme? I think that's the perfect description of it. And I mean, the fact that we're watching a guy lug around 50-pound dumbbells after a match, and immediately doing weightlifting on the field is, I think, pretty tough to argue as anything other than a social media type stunt. And I think he just looks like a rugby player at this point, wrestling with guys every time the ball's kicked in his direction and just finds a way to fight and scrap. I think I will at least acknowledge he is very good at it. His ability to be direct is certainly a handful, but it feels like 99% of his efforts are on the gym, and that is the basis of his game.
Yeah, I could definitely see the Texans or the Chiefs using a player like him right about now, dear Lord. All right, that was our top three and bottom three players in the Premier League. Thank you so much for listening. We will have a podcast with Arden on Friday to kind of preview some of the games, including the Manchester Derby. A lot of excitement going into that. And Lyndon, I can't let you get out of here without a prediction, since you won't be on that podcast on Friday. I know that you are a realistic Manchester United fan, but sometimes this international break can give you hope, can give you despair. What are you thinking is going to be the outcome of Manchester versus Manchester City?
Thank goodness they're struggling, but that doesn't really mean a lot when you're talking about Manchester City. But I'm gonna go with a 1-1.
Okay, 1-1. You heard it here first. A point for both teams. And thanks again, Daniel and Lyndon, for joining the Football Ball Podcast. I'm Zach, aka Mr. Stateside. Thanks for listening.
Football Ball.
And we'll talk to you later.
Football Ball. Football Ball.